Ugh. Hi, this is Nadia, and I am here with Julie Meyers. The cameraman's laughing at me. Okay, I'm here with Julie.
26 hours.
26 hours of Nadia. I'm pretty soon I'm gonna start forgetting who I am. So, am I being heard? Okay, I'm being heard. Okay, so this is Julie Meyers. She's actually here from Hitops, and it's a nonprofit organization. And so, Julie, thank you so much for coming in
Thank you so much for having me.
this Saturday morning. And so, tell us. So, what you're the director of development and marketing, right? So, before I get into maybe your position, give us an overview of what Hitops is.
Sure, and again, thank you so much for having me. We're really thrilled to be part of this. High Tops is an adolescent healthcare center in Princeton. It's right on Wiggins Street. We've been there since 1987, and we provide our services, our adolescent healthcare services, through three different ways. We do that through direct education, through a health center, and through social services. The educational programs we deliver both through teens, helping teens, and we're throughout the state doing that. And we also have adult educators who do programs in schools and in people's homes, and we go to JCCs, the juvenile justice centers. We provide really educational programs on anything you can imagine that relates to adolescent health. Bullying, sexual violence, I'm trying to think, video game addiction, computer, internet, Facebook. We have really anything
Wow.
that teens are into, we do educational programs on. We also have the health center, and the health center is for teens for whatever they need, whether it be reproductive health care, whether it be a sports physical, school physical, breast health exams, anything. It's a wonderful place, and it's such a missing niche in this society. We have so many pediatricians. We have so many OBGYNs. I think we are the only freestanding health center in the state that is solely for adolescents, only for kids who are going through this part between childhood and OBGYN. And then we have the social services, where we have programs for young women who
Yes.
are the victims of sexual violence, and we have another program for LGBTQ youth,
Okay,
which
all
is
right.
exploding.
Okay, yeah.
For the need.
I'm sure. Well, that's really interesting. I mean, because with the issues that teens face, I mean, obviously nationally, there's sort of been this bias against sex education, even in more liberal states. I mean, I think New Jersey. I mean, I don't know if you're sure. I actually am not sure what the stance is, but I do know it's still like a national abstinence sort of only program, and I think that's unfortunate because basically teens are not really given any options and they don't really have any resources. So I wonder what are the challenges you faced sort of as an advocacy group in the state regarding that?
And it's a great question. The answer is that New Jersey has overall been very, very friendly. And as far as states go, New Jersey has been spectacular. We are not we are not a political organization by
Yes.
any means. So what we always do is rely on the research. Rely on the research that abstinence only does not work, and that's been shown time and time and time again. So thankfully, we live in a state because, like, for example, our biggest program, which is Teen PEP, is underwritten by the New Jersey Department of Health and Senior Services and Teen PEP and the Princeton Center for Leadership Training. Those are our partners with
Yes.
this. And so it's a state, really, we get so much money from the state to do this program. So it is a challenge, and it's one we're constantly facing. And honestly, we are students of this as well. We absolutely believe abstinence is one form of sexual, of not getting pregnant. We definitely believe that. But we also we're students of this as well, and we're always trying to figure out what are the best methods and what are the best ways to talk to teens in a language they understand.
Well, I was talking to you before in the room, and you had mentioned the history. Not saying you have to go into detail about all the history, but I thought it was a pretty good story, and it was a pretty interesting story. If you could sort of say maybe how long Hitops has been around and how it started.
Sure. Hitops has been around. We were founded in 1987, and the story, our history, which we were going over, which was Hitops is actually began as a small program inside of a birthing center. We were a birthing center called Family Born. More and more teens were coming in to deliver babies at 13, 14 years old, and it was really the brilliance of the Family Born staff who said, these children shouldn't be coming in here to have babies, they should be coming in here to learn how not to have babies. And so that's really where Hitops began as a subsection of this organization. And in the years that have passed, we've learned so many different things that adolescents need, not just sexual prevention, but understanding, when you understand the whole teenager, the whole holistic, everything that goes part of a teenager's personality, that all affects whether or not they make wise decisions in the bedroom, in the classroom, in the supermarket, everywhere. We learned it's really multifaceted, so we've grown and grown and grown to be the resource for teens in this community.
And when was it started again? I'm sorry.
1987.
1987. Okay, so
Yes.
it has been around a while, and it is in Princeton.
Right.
Okay.
We're in walking distance from where we are right now. We're right
Okay.
on Wiggins Street. And it's phenomenal. It's on every bus route, which is really important to us. I think in New Jersey, I'm from New York,
Yeah.
things can be very fractured. Bus lines from Trenton come to us, bus lines from New Brunswick. We are right in the heart of heart of Princeton. So anyone coming into Princeton can come to the center for our health services, can visit, can learn about our programs. We're right there.
One of the issues, I mean, that really, I think, concerns sort of the genesis of the problem is, this sort of lack of family structure a lot of times, or familial support for things like education, for things like even sex education, or any kind of support. So, I mean, honestly, when that's not available, to have that family support, or even having had that family support as a child, how do you guys really come in and help with that when that's such a big piece?
See, it's such a phenomenal question, because I think people often assume that we just help the teens and we kind of
Yes.
snatch them from their parents. I'm being a bit funny. That's not at all what we do. We have programs for parents. We are as much there for the parents as we are for the teenagers. A lot of our funders say to us, I'm giving you this money because my kid might or might not go to you for services. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And we have programs, specifically parenting programs, in parents' homes, where parents will invite us in and we will talk to the parents. We always say that the children get their values from their parents. We respect and we work with the parents for their values. So teens can come to the health center, but it's also, we work with the whole family. We do not think one is separate from the other at all.
Okay, and I think that's pretty good, but it's very organic. And actually, so I want to switch gears a little bit. So what made you sort of get into this field? I mean, I know you do, you said development and marketing, a little more like PR sort of stuff, but sort of, what made you get involved with the Hitops in particular?
I love this story, actually, which is, I've been a fundraiser for many years,
Okay.
fundraiser, development, marketing, and my husband got an offer of a job in Trenton. We were living in New York, and I didn't quite know what I was going to do. I didn't know how we were going to pull this off. And long story made short was, I said, because I was going to stay in New York, going to keep working in New York. And he, so I decided, he was going out to Trenton to just look at it, to see what his job was going to be. I said, as opposed to me just staying in New York or anything else, I said, why don't I look for places where I'd like to work? Not everything in Trenton.
Yeah.
Why don't I cherry pick a few organizations that I'd like to work? As fate would have it, Hitops was one of like 2 organizations. I said, wow, what an amazing mission, what tremendous work, and they were hiring. And it was just kismet. So my husband and I started our jobs almost at the same exact
Oh, wow.
day almost.
It's like it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And we moved to New Jersey, and we've been here ever since. It's been almost 5 years.
Oh, wow. And I mean, did you work with nonprofits before?
Yes.
So in New York.
I was always with health charities.
Okay.
Always had worked in healthcare, because I love the work. I love the work. I love being able to talk to someone like you and share how much, how much $1 can do, how much $5 can do. If people give to a charity like Hitops, it's such an amazing return on investment. You're saving, a kid can walk in who has no money to pay for services, and your gift can make that happen. Your gift can bring a program to a juvenile justice center when some kids are incarcerated and need these types of services. One gift or one gift on top of another can mean so much to so many. And when I learned this was a field, I got very excited about the idea of sharing that.
Well, it's one of the things I've been really following, and actually a personal interest of mine, because I'm so involved in social justice, is the issue of teen incarcerations, and sort of the real criminalization of underage offenders. And I was looking at an article on truthout.com where it's actually there's an Ella Baker Foundation, or Ella Baker Center in Oakland, California, actually, and they work with teens. They work with especially particularly minority and low-income teens, and they were working with a statute. I guess in California, they really do criminalize it, as in if there's bad behavior in juvenile centers, they will actually add on, like his kid went in for 11 months, ended up staying for 3 years,
Wow.
and he was about 15. So I'm just sort of wondering, what is, I mean, I know you said you don't really do direct service, but do you have any idea of how that's approached? Since, I mean, I really find it to be a problematic situation in this country.
I agree,
Yeah.
personally. No, I mean, we work with the JJCs, and so we are programs through they look at what their needs are, and then they contract with us, and we always are we
Oh, so like the detention centers contact with you.
exactly right,
All right,
exactly right.
okay.
They bring in our educators for one time
Okay.
and we've had tremendous success.
And you have,
We've been
okay.
doing that, I think, for about 10 years. Don't quote
wow.
me.
Okay.
We've been doing that for quite a few years, and they see that there is a need there.
So the level of success sort of is determined by them not returning, them, I'm guessing, is that
Yeah,
really
I mean,
how
I was going to say surveys where you do pre and post testing, where you find out what the kids learned, and even when we go back a second time to see what kinds of questions were learned, I heard the most magnificent story the other night at a cocktail party, which I'm going to share,
Yes.
which was it was a university professor, a psychiatrist in town who was from Princeton, and he said whenever he does his initial screenings, he says if the child says he knows Hitops, he was familiar with Hitops, he can pretty much know that he's practicing safe sex, that he understands. He says he can wipe out like a series of questions he otherwise would have had to ask when all the kid has to say is Hitops. And I said to him, can you put that in writing? I said, can I use that? And he said yes. So it's really the kind of thing there that, as you were saying about us being this holistic approach, where in the schools kids come to the services, they really get a full picture.
Oh, that's really great. It's really good to hear. I mean, I think when you hear that, I mean, your organization has been around for a long time. They must be doing something right. But it's also great to hear that there is that organic and very grassroots effect on the community. And actually, another question I had, I'm trying to remember. You know, it's been about 26 hours.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
26 hours. I don't even remember how many hours. But oh yeah, well, you know, teens, working with teens. I mean, you know, a lot of times they can be difficult. They can be because they're not adults, but they're not babies. I mean, they're headstrong, and I mean, a lot of times they'll listen, a lot of times they won't, and especially when it comes to an issue like sex, you know, where you know a lot of teens won't really take the risk seriously, and how do you try to, you don't want to drill it into them, and you really want them to practice things like safe sex, but it seems like it can be such an icky topic, right? I mean, it is in general. I mean, no one wants to talk about it. But how do you really approach it to teens? And on top of that, even try to cement the idea of something like safe sex or contraceptive use?
I was going to say it's another very good question, which is exactly why it's such an amazing charity, because of specifically what you just asked, which is it is a hard thing to topic. I mean, there's all these jokes about when you're talking to your kids about the birds and the bees, and how do you do this, and how do you approach? I mean, how do you approach discussing how the effect Facebook has on your children when you don't know what it does, because you didn't have this when you were a kid.
Exactly.
You didn't have sexting. You didn't
Yeah.
have cell phones. You didn't have, and I know you might have. I didn't have any of these things. So the
You know, sexting surprised me too. I'm like, what are they doing? You know,
this is the
Yeah.
really the brilliance of Hitops, and something I always talk about when I speak very well of the organization is the fact that our educational staff is made up of people throughout their in all walks of life. We have women on staff who are in their 60s, 50s, 40s, 20s, right out of college, and so our perspective on how do you teach these very tough topics to children. Well, we do some kids who are who are
Yeah.
tweens, teens. How do you teach these topics? Comes from doing it sometimes for 20 years, 30 years, but also comes from people who know we can't say that they're not doing that anymore. This is what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it really is this approach that has been going on, as you said. We've been in the community over 20 years. We've been refining, we've been searching, we've been looking for the best methods and models, and this is what we do. So if people want to talk to their kids about it, if they want to, if they don't know how to, oh my God, my son's being bullied at school, I'm afraid my son might be gay and I don't know how to handle it, they can call us. We're right here, and our website is hitops.org, or I'm going to give my phone number, which is 609-683-5155. That's what we're here for. So if they go to the website, which is hitops.org, HITOPS or something, it's magnificent in that people really can get these questions answered, because a lot of times at least if I didn't work at Hitops, I wouldn't know where to begin. I would not have a clue sexting.
Yeah, yeah,
Sending
no, no,
pictures of yourself on the cell phone. I
I
wouldn't.
can't imagine my parents' reaction to that.
This is, I mean, so it's
mean-
for the teens and it's for the parents who are wondering,
Yeah.
where do I go? You go
I
to
remember
Hi-
my
you go to
parents freak out.
Hitops.
My parents freak out if I ever wore a tank top in front of them. I mean, forget like something like texting or sexting
Exactly.
or texting. They don't understand texting either. So
And how could that?
Yeah,
I
so-
mean, we're being, as parents, and as I was talking to you, I'm a new parent.
Yes.
These are not things we knew. These are not things we practiced. These are things that our kids do know, though. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things teenagers do know. And what we've been doing for, again, over 20 years is
Yeah.
figuring out what we do know, how we do impart our values, and what we need to learn.
I mean, I really think it's great that your organization is. It seems like it's very flexible, and I think that's very. It needs to be very relevant for every organization to, especially to maintain that. Not even the period where they can like last a long time, have longevity, but actually still have efficiency. That they're that it's still applicable to the population they're trying to serve.
You hit the nail on the head, because if we didn't grow with the times, we would not be useful at all. If we did not explore these new technologies, our mission has to be led by the teenagers. So when the teenagers are doing something, we need to understand hookah smoking and all kinds of terms that, to me were, all of these terms.
Yeah.
What? Excuse me? And when you don't feel old until you realize you don't understand a word your teenager is saying,
Yeah.
But we have to be, we do podcasting, we do all kinds of
wow.
things. We are on Facebook, we are on MySpace. We need to be speaking in the dialogue that the teens are speaking in, or we're completely ineffectual. And we wouldn't have been here if we haven't been doing this. If we haven't been tapping into it, we wouldn't be here. We need to do that because that's how teens are speaking.
And do you have a big office? Like how many staff do you have?
We have about 20 staff members. We have been growing little by little. We are now in 2 buildings on Wigan Street. And so it's a relatively mid-sized, I don't know, it depends how you're counting organizations.
I'm from a small organization. I have like
People
7 people. So-
People always laugh
Yeah.
because they ask us often where the international headquarters are for
Yeah.
High Tops. You're standing in them. We're
Yeah.
standalone. We're not part of a bigger charity. Every dollar that is donated to us stays in this community, and goes right back into it, and into New Jersey. And somewhat we're moving outside of the state, but we're really here for the kids.
And you have volunteers and interns that get to work, right?
Absolutely. We're always, we're here because of our volunteers, our
Yeah.
interns, our donors, our supporters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes even think like teen volunteers would even be helpful, or teen interns. I mean, I don't really know if you or you have to be over 18 or not, but
It doesn't.
you know.
We have some of our most spectacular interns are high school students at Princeton High.
Yeah,
Some are
that's
from
great.
other high schools. Teens are wonderful people. If you have an
Yeah.
interest, if you have a desire to learn, there's always an opportunity. And our Teen Pep program, which is again that program we talked about earlier, which is with the state and with the Leadership Council, the Princeton Center for Leadership Training.
Okay.
That program is all rising seniors. It's in schools throughout the state with the rising seniors. So if you give teenagers the skills and have them know that they can be leaders, they can be.
Okay.
So-
Well, it's really great. I mean, you definitely sound really passionate about this kind of work and everything. And I remember actually before you had mentioned you were from the Bronx, like, so I guess born and bred, right?
Yes.
In the Bronx. And so I don't know. I mean, do you think there was any experiences growing up that sort of made you interested towards sort of nonprofit or social work, some kind of social, not justice, but like the human, social rights, that sort of thing?
Yes, and yes. The story I often tell is I actually lost my mother when I was young, and she
Okay.
actually got sick when I was young, and I never was this great scientist. This was never my skill set, but I've always been okay at telling people my passion and writing and telling and trying to convey people this is important and this is why. So the very first fundraising I ever did was for cancer,
Okay.
in breast cancer screenings, which now Hitops does
Yes,
through the Komen Institute, which is amazing, through Susan G. Komen, who gives us funding to do that. So I lost my mother through that, and I learned that I don't have to be a scientist to change the world.
Yes.
I can just tell people this is important and you need to be passionate about this, and tell it hopefully in the best effective ways to get people along. So that's how it came. It came from a terrible tragedy and me not knowing what am I going to do now, to saying, wow, I can do something with this, and we can you can change the world by just sharing your passion.
And the part of Bronx you lived in, was that more inner city, or was that a little more on the fringes of New York, or?
It was more suburban.
Okay,
It really
suburban,
was
all
more
right, yeah.
suburban. I went to high school in Manhattan.
All right,
So
okay.
I was saying it's like North Manhattan. So, but
Yeah, but
they're different from New Jersey.
yeah, no, you definitely. I mean, there's definitely certain parts of New Jersey that are very much inner city, I mean,
Yes.
and they don't actually get a lot of support, unfortunately. But I mean, actually, it's a similar story. I mean, I wanted to be a doctor for the longest time, and exclusively to help people. I just was like, I can help people if I'm a doctor. People will trust me. But honestly, I just did not have the analytical power to study the subjects I needed to be a doctor. That just wasn't my thing. But doing I did political science, and I'm like, wow, I can definitely do the same thing, which is helping people or working in that capacity, but there's just so many other ways to do it. So I definitely can understand that, where I'm like, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, because I think sometimes we get frightened. Like, we look at the obstacles and not at what we can do. And again, it's all from Hitops as well.
Yeah.
There are many things that we can do that, and it's not necessarily, oh, I can't be a doctor, so I can't help people, with health concerns. And as I don't think I said this on air, I said this to you outside. I've never worked at a charity that wasn't a health charity.
yeah.
Everywhere I've ever worked has been healthcare, and you really can make a difference by making sure, back to Hitops, that kids get the healthcare that they need, that people get breast cancer, screenings for and learn how to do mammograms, not mammograms, that they learn how to do breast exams, that they learn how to, take care of that they learn how to see a doctor. That is just as effective, as it is as seeing the doctor himself or herself, because if someone doesn't know the access to a medical professional, they can't take part of the services. They need to have the access.
yes. And what would you say, I mean, from what you know, what is probably some of the challenges that Hitops has faced, maybe some of the biggest challenges in this kind of field?
The biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges, which is always a challenge, is funding.
Yes.
And as I said, you can learn more about us. You can even donate right on our website at hitops.org. Funding remains such a priority for so many reasons. One is that story I told, which again can be wonderful, that people thought we were this international organization,
Yeah.
and where are your headquarters? Because we've been here so long, of course we know Hitops. Hitops is there. Because so many people just assume Hitops has always been there, will always be there, they don't realize we're here because the community wants us here. They give us donations, they volunteer, they join the board, they do all kinds of things. We are here because of this community, period, end of page. So funding becomes a challenge, and it's so silly to say we don't want to do anything too well, but if you become the kind of thing, of course, Hitops is always there.
Yeah. People
It's-
sort of take advantage. I mean, not
Or
on purpose,
not,
but
not
take
important.
advantage, but-
Exactly. It's a wonderful thing that people think that we're part of an international
Yes.
conglomerate because we do our work and we do it well, but we're here because of the community. And then the other challenge, but I wouldn't even necessarily use the word challenge, is keeping up with the with what teens are doing.
changing
They're
times,
5 steps
yeah.
ahead of us,
Yes.
and we have to be there. And so that requires our staff going to international conferences, going to national events. Right now, a lot of my staff, I don't tend to do a lot of the interviews because the educators do, because it makes sense, because they know so much about this. They're all at conferences as we speak. As you and I speak, I'm here because the educators are at conferences presenting what we've learned about teenagers and learning from other people. So that's the challenge, is that we need to have the funds and the support to make sure we can keep doing what we're doing and making sure that we are on the cutting edge, because teenagers will always be on the cutting edge,
Yes.
and so we have to be right there with them.
Yeah, so, well, no, that sounds great. I mean, always sort of trying to, I guess you're trying to always keep up with the curve.
Right.
No matter what happens.
Right.
But, no, so, I mean, I know that you guys work a lot with the women's spaces. Is new women's space around?
Women's
Or-
Space is down in Trenton,
Okay.
Lawrenceville, Trenton.
Okay, but I guess they serve Mercer County.
Yes, yes.
so-
They're a great organization. We don't work that closely
Okay.
with them. I personally love and support their organization, but yes, they're a different organization that does great work.
And I mean, in your organization, is there a lot of outreach to high schools in the area?
We are in about 50 high schools across the state of New Jersey, and that is through our Teen Pep program, where it's teens teaching other teens
So
practices.
it's like a peer program. peer-
Exactly,
okay.
exactly, regarding safe sex, regarding all kinds of the programs. So that is throughout the state of New Jersey and in North Carolina. That's really one of our signature programs. But we also, high schools will often call us if they're having a problem with a student who wants to come out, with a student who is transgendered and doesn't know how to deal with it. If any of the local schools have some type of issue that they want addressed to 20 students, 200 students, 500 students, if they want a week-long program, they can call us and say, we're having a really bad bullying problem. 3 kids will not come to school anymore
Yeah.
because of it. We need this addressed now. You can call Hitops. We have a lot of programs. We create programs specifically to the different schools. And so, yeah, so we're in the schools and we're there to help. And we have, as I said, programs so you don't have to have a problem to call
Yeah.
us. You can have just wanting general overviews or services, we send people out. So.
And you said we were talking about a lot of donors. How does Hitops mostly get funded? Is there a lot of grant money? Is there foundations? I guess
It's all of the above. It's absolutely all of the above. It's grants through wonderful, wonderful foundations right in our community. It is donors. It is individual donors supporting us. We just had our gala. We very magnificently. We grossed over $100,000 at it.
Great.
It is fabulous. It's fabulous in these times. For anyone who came, it makes such a difference. We had our board and an anonymous donor underwrite every single penny of the gala. So every penny we raised went to services and not to event expenses, not to not that we served a rubber chicken, but it didn't go to that. It goes right to the kids, right to the community. So it's donors, it's corporations, it's foundations. It's really, it's the community who keeps us here.
And I mean, with the economy downturn, I know it's been hurting a lot of nonprofits. I mean, have you really seen an effect?
We definitely have. We definitely have, and and we'd be remiss not to acknowledge that. We absolutely have. And then again, even with the gala numbers, we never want to fear we don't ever want people not to think they're not giving to a wonderfully healthy organization because we try so hard to always be lean and mean and make the very best decisions we can make. But the economic downturn has hurt so many of us, and
Yeah.
people who used to give us 100 can only give 25, and someone who gave 25 might not be able to give. So it has never been more important to support this organization because thinking, oh, I'm sure Sue next door will give.
Yeah.
You don't know that she will.
Yeah.
If people want us here, they need to help us by that. And again, we're covering so much. It was funny. I didn't know how long our interview would be, and then half an hour, wow. The website is so inclusive. It's hitops.org and hitops.org, and people can donate right there and learn more about us. Really get a full, if I said one thing about the SAS program, which is our sexual violence, or our programs in schools, or our health center, and it's something that you may be interested in, the website really is more comprehensive to find out everything you want to know.
Well, I was a good little interviewer, and I did my research.
Yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did.
On the website, and I will definitely vouch it. It's a great website. I mean, they do cover a lot of extensive things. I mean, things that you wouldn't even think of, like bullying and health issues, outside of just sexual reproduction and violence and things like that. But our time's basically up. But if there's any, you said the website. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to just sort of throw out there. You have a little space right now.
I so appreciate, you're a wonderful interviewer. I've so appreciated this. I'm going to give my phone number one more time, which is 609-683-5155. And it's a great organization, and I urge anyone watching to learn more about us and check us out.
Okay, thank you so much, Julie.
Thank
for
you.
coming
This
on
was a
and sharing
pleasure.
all the
Thank you.
information. I think they might put up the website maybe on the. I mean, they might put it up on the screen. So
Okay, great.
maybe people will see it. But yes, so thank you so much, Julie. For
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thanks so much.